Okay, let's dive into this explainer. We're going to unpack a medical paradox that absolutely turned our understanding of human behavior completely upside down. Picture this, right? It's the 1940s. A highly skilled New York plastic surgeon named Maxwell Maltz is just doing his thing. He's in the operating room fixing physical flaws that have caused his patients deep, deep emotional pain for years. But then he starts noticing something. Well, something incredibly strange, something that literally made zero sense from a medical standpoint. It's a mystery that would eventually rewrite the entire rulebook on confidence, success, and how the human mind actually works. So let's see how this all builds into something truly monumental. Starting back in the 1940s, Dr. Maltz's clinic observations were so profound, so groundbreaking, that they led directly to him publishing a book in 1960. That book? Psycho-Cybernetics. Now, if you haven't heard of it, let me tell you, this book is an absolute titan. We're talking tens of millions of copies sold worldwide. And its impact? It is heavily, heavily felt today. In fact, those bizarre observations Maltz made in the operating room quietly shaped almost every single modern success and personal development philosophy that came after it. He was basically inventing the whole concept of a mindset decades before mindset was even a word people used. And this brilliantly illustrates exactly what Maltz was seeing that was just so incredibly confusing. See, Maltz would give his patients a brand new face. He'd expertly fix a bad scar, straighten out a crooked nose, completely smooth out a physical flaw they had absolutely loathed for years. Medically speaking, the surgery was a total, unqualified home run. He fully expected them to walk out of his office feeling utterly reborn. And, well, for most of them, they did. But some just didn't. Some of these patients would look in the mirror after surgery, staring at a perfectly corrected face, and they still saw the exact same ugly person looking right back at them. The paradox was literally staring him in the face. He had successfully changed their face, sure, but he hadn't changed their mind. Now, what's really fascinating here is how Maltz eventually defined this whole phenomenon. He called it the self-image. Basically, it's a mental blueprint of who you truly believe you are. But here's the crucial part. Maltz realized this isn't just some passive little idea floating around in the background of your mind. It's not just a passing thought, no way. This blueprint is an active, fully operational control system. It is literally dictating your behavior 24/7. So, those patients who still felt ugly, they had an internal blueprint that fundamentally said, I am ugly, and absolutely no amount of physical surgery on the outside was ever going to override that internal control system on the inside. To explain how this internal control system actually worked, Maltz borrowed a very specific term from the engineering world, cybernetics. Simply put, cybernetics is the study of self-correcting guidance systems. Think of like the automatic steering on a torpedo or guided missile. Maltz proposed something completely revolutionary for the time. He said your brain works the exact same way as that torpedo. It's literally a goal-seeking machine. It will automatically steer your everyday behavior. We're talking your posture, the tone of your voice, your split-second decisions, and even what we sometimes call luck, to perfectly match whatever self-image you're carrying around inside. And here is the real kicker. Your brain does this whether or not that image is actually true. Let's break down exactly how this system operates in your everyday life. It really all comes down to how your self-image triggers either a failure mechanism or a success mechanism. For example, let's say your self-image says, I'm the kind of person who chokes under pressure. Well, your nervous system activates the failure mechanism. It's gonna quietly, almost invisibly arrange small failures for you. Maybe you stumble over a word during a big presentation or clumsily drop a glass at a party, all just to keep proving that internal blueprint right. Conversely, if you can flip that self-image, the exact same biological system becomes a success mechanism. It starts automatically correcting your course toward your target, exactly the same way a missile corrects its path using real-time feedback. And this beautifully explains why those plastic surgery patients didn't all transform. Their faces physically changed, yes, but their internal blueprint didn't. And a self-image, left unedited, will always win an argument against a mirror. So the crucial point is, you cannot outperform your own self-image for long. I want to pause and just let that sink in for a second. It is a radical, incredible claim. It is the absolute core of Maltz's entire discovery. You might be able to trick your mind for a day, or maybe fake confidence for a week, but you cannot fundamentally outperform the blueprint of who you deeply believe you are. The system is just going to self-correct. And this leads us directly into what we call the willpower trap, and exactly why just trying harder usually falls flat. It always starts with a short, really intense burst of energy where your willpower pushes you way above your baseline self-image. You force yourself to be confident or super productive or outgoing. But underneath all that massive effort, The mental blueprint remains completely unedited. You haven't touched the core programming, which inevitably means your subconscious, acting exactly like that self-correcting torpedo we just talked about, pulls you right back down to whatever version of you it genuinely believes is true. It's the exact reason why Maltz surgery patients couldn't just will themselves into feeling beautiful. Their subconscious dragged them right back to their old, unedited blueprint. Okay, so the obvious question here is, how do we actually fix the blueprint? Well, it starts with a fascinating neurological fact. Your nervous system actually cannot tell the difference between a real experience and when you vividly imagine. It's a strange, super powerful reality. And it happens to be the very foundation of the mental technique Maltz prescribed to his patients to rewrite their blueprints. It's actually a technique that elite athletes still quietly use today to achieve absolute peak performance. But we're going to dive really deep into exactly how that specific tool works in part 2 of this explainer series. For now, as we wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you with a final, incredibly provocative question. Ask yourself this: what does my internal blueprint currently say about me? And who decided that? Instead of constantly asking yourself, how do I try harder? Or how do I drum up more willpower? Just take a step back today. Take a good, hard look at your own self-correcting guidance system. What is it secretly programmed to seek out? Think about that question and get ready, because in part 2, we're going to learn exactly how to edit that blueprint for good.